welcome to this week's Thought for the Week. It's Wednesday the 13th of September, and I'm not sure if you know, but today is World Roald Dahl Day. I'm not sure if you are a big fan of Roald Dahl, but when I was growing up, I loved reading all of the stories that he had written. I really loved Matilda, about the girl who had special powers, who could move things with her mind. I loved reading about James and the Giant Peach, who travelled around the world on these adventures inside a giant peach with lots of insect friends. I loved reading about Charlie and the chocolate factory, getting his golden ticket on a tour around the factory and eventually being the owner of the factory. I thought it was really amazing. Or George's Marvellous Medicine, Fantastic Mr. Fox. So many amazing stories. In our house, we love to read stories as well. Jemima loves nothing more than snuggling up and reading a good storybook. And it's always given me chat about these stories, like how good it would be if some of these things would be real. But some of the stories that we really love to read together are stories that are taken from the Bible. And sometimes we forget how amazing these stories are. And it's whenever I've been reading them with Jemima for the first time, I realise actually these stories are great to read. We read about Daniel being rescued from a lion's den. We read about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who were rescued from the fiery furnace. We read about Jonah, who was swallowed by a big fish and then spat out onto the land. We read about Moses parting the Red Sea with a staff. We read about Elijah, who won the God contest by being the only prophet who would call on the name of the Lord. Sometimes we forget that the Bible is full of amazing stories. And the thing that we always like to point out to Jemima is that these stories are all true. These stories are written not just to be really good stories, but the fact that they point us to God. If you have ever read the Jesus Storybook Bible, it has a tagline that goes along with the book, and it says, "The Jesus Storybook Bible, every story whispers his name." All of the stories in the Bible tell us how amazing God is and how his amazing love rescued us and how he sent that love in a person, in Jesus. And that throughout the Bible, all of the stories we read point us to our Saviour, Jesus. And sometimes we are so familiar with the stories, we forget this amazing truth. And so today, on Roald Dahl Day, yes, it's good to remember the stories that he has written, the amazing children's stories, but I'm going to encourage you today to remember the greatest story that has been told, the Bible that year on year is the world's best-selling book. I'm going to read to you from the end of the Jesus Storybook Bible. It's a paraphrase of John chapter 1, verses 12 to 13. And it says, "For anyone who says yes to Jesus, for anyone who believes what Jesus said, for anyone who will just reach out to take it, then God will give them this wonderful gift. To be born into a whole new life, to be who they really are, who God always made them to be, their own true selves, God's dear child. Because you see, the most wonderful thing about this story is it's your story too."